Hello, this is Mike here. Um, this is a bit of a different video. Um, so I've been cleaning my room a little bit, and I found this old short story um, I did when I was in school back in 2014. Um, so I was 13 at the time when I wrote this short story, and I was reading it again. And I just thought it was quite funny, so I'd just like to share it with you. It's called um, That Damn Crazy House. And yeah, I just thought it was quite funny. Thought will make for kind of a funny, interesting video. So it all began on Wednesday the 12th, 1970. It was a nice day, good weather, and Bob has found this really cool house on Maple Street for a very cheap price. Bob yells out to Cletus, who's on the other side of the road. "Hey, old Cletus, there's a cheap-ass house for sale." "All right, old daddy," says Cletus as he ran awkwardly up to Bob and gave him a big hug. Bob never really liked Cletus. Bob pretty much hated him. All of a sudden, a real estate agent went out of the house. He said, "Hey guys, I see you're interested in this house here." Who are you?" said Bob. "Oh well, my name's Dick," said the real estate agent. Cletus began to laugh real hard at the real estate agent's name. "Shut up," said Bob. The agent just said, call me Richard instead." So they all looked around the house, and Bob liked it and said, "We'll take it." "Righto," said the agent. "That will be $10,000, matey." "Done." Bob paid it in cash, and the house was instantly theirs. The agent just walked off like nothing happened as he approached his nice, shiny, expensive car. Bob was much surprised that he got the house so quickly, and plus the furniture was already in the house, so they didn't need to move their old furniture into this one. Richard yelled out to Bob and Cletus from his car window, "Oh yeah, since you had this new house, we'll have to demolish your old one. See ya, suckers." Richard drove off down the road at a fast pace to escape the scene, but tragically crashed into a sign and got him knocked out cold. Bob Bob smiled, and then the car set fire. Cletus laughed so hard and said, "See ya, Dick." The car dramatically exploded. Cletus laughed even harder. Bob Bob shrugged and went back into his new house. Cletus was incredibly excited to go see his brand new room and play with his new toys and new everything. So he sprinted around and around like crazy with excitement. Bob rolled his eyes at Cletus and walked upstairs slowly to his new bedroom. He had a fluffy, comfy, king-size bed. Bob had a wife, but never had a child of his own. He did have Cletus, but he was just adopted. He wasn't Bob's real child, and plus he was a real psycho. Bob was saddened by this. The house had paintings too, of flying houses and air balloons, blimps, planes, and rocket ships. Bob was very confused by this, because this house didn't have any planes or blimps. Bob walked back downstairs thinking that maybe the old owner of this house had an obsession with flying. When Bob went back to the first floor, he was in shock. There was a huge mess. Books were all over the place, including cakes, whiskey bottles, paper planes, and broken plates. Bob watched in malice as he saw Cletus swinging from the chandelier. Bob yelled out, "Get out of the house, or you cause us trouble." Cletus jumped from the chandelier and sprinted through the doors of the house, crying, saying, "Damn you." "Good riddance, that kid. I don't know why I adopted him," said Bob. Bob walked around the living room and the kitchen angrily as he stood on some broken plates and cakes. He knew he had to clean this whole mess. Cletus ruined his day. He was extremely angry until he noticed a big green button saying lift off. An idea came in his mind. If he pressed that button right now, he would fly off to space and leave Cletus there, and he wouldn't have to live with this horrible burden of living with a kid who always ruins his day. But he couldn't do it now. Not yet. He must wait for the perfect moment to do it, a time where he is most angry with him. Bob grinned as he let Cletus back into the house. Bob had his evil plan all worked out. Bob walked up the stairs into his bedroom, into his big bed, and dreamt about what his life would be without Cletus. The next morning, Bob woke up and looked at his plain alarm clock, which said 6 p.m. Bob ran out of bed. This wasn't the morning, it was the evening. He'd been asleep for at least 20 hours. Bob saw Cletus in the kitchen giggling about something. "What is it?" yelled Bob. "Oh, I snuck into your room at night and put sleeping pills in your mouth. At first, when I put them in your mouth, you didn't swallow them, but when I whispered chocolate, you swallowed them all." It was so funny watching though. I had to hold in the laughing in. I had to hold the laughing in, or else you would have woken up. Bob looked like he was about to explode with anger. "How long have I been sleeping for?" "Oh, don't worry, old Bobby. You've only been asleep for a week or so, and I stole your car keys too." "Oh," said Cletus. "There's a whole box of drugs in the basement, and plus your keys are in the most obvious hiding." "Oh," Bob asked, "where did you get these damn drugs, and how did you steal my car keys?" "Oh," said Cletus, "there's a whole box of drugs in the basement, and plus your keys are in the most obvious hiding spot known to man." Cletus began to laugh more and more. Bob was so angry, he was about to cry. He was so tempted to push Cletus outside and push the lift off button, but he couldn't. Not now. There must be thousands of things Cletus could do to make him much angrier than he is now. Bob sent Cletus to his room. He sat down on the big blue sofa and looked at the clouds and watched the sun come down. It was like a big red-orange ball of paint sinking and dissolving into the water. Bob slept on the couch. He was extremely exhausted. During the night, Bob heard some giggling upstairs. It got louder as it got closer to him. Bob knew exactly who it was. Bob wanted to see what Cletus would do. Cletus approached the kitchen while giggling, making it obvious for Bob. Bob crawled off the couch slowly and stealthily to see what Cletus would be doing in the kitchen, probably knocking him out with more pills or worse. Cletus was approaching the lift off button and was about to press it. Bob should have known this was coming. Bob instinctively pulled out a kitchen knife from the bench and said harshly, "Don't you even think about it, Cletus." Cletus turned around mischievously and said, "Oh yeah? And who's going to stop me? You, Bobby? I really don't think so." Cletus does an evil smile and presses that big shiny green button which will change both of their lives forever. Bob roars with anger and throws the knife like a ninja star at Cletus, but misses and hits the window. The house shuttles begins to power up, and the house rumbles like an earthquake. Bob tries to choke Cletus, but falls over into the glass window and cracks it. Cletus laughs and sprints upstairs. Bob looks down and screams. The house is 1,000 meters in the air already. If they don't control the house soon, they both go to space and freeze to death. Bob looks around the house for a control room before Cletus gets to it first. Bob runs down the basement and finds an old control panel. Bob laughs in his delight as he sits on the leather chair. Maybe he could tip the house over and kill Cletus. Just couldn't wait. All of a sudden, Cletus sneaks up and subdues him from behind. Later, Bob wakes up in a closet full of cobwebs. His hands and mouth are tied up in wet cloths. Um, Bob looks through a crack in the wood and watches Cletus playing around with the controls. He has to kill Cletus. Cletus could risk the lives of many people. If he crashes, or maybe he's trying to. Now for plan B of killing Cletus. When Cletus is asleep, Bob must punch him into his heart's content, or find a good weapon first. That sounds like an easy enough plan. When Bob is asleep, dreaming about what the world would be like for him without Cletus, Cletus is playing on his Game Boy at night until he falls asleep and snores loud enough to wake Bob up. Bob wakes up startled and tries to escape by biting the cloth of his mouth and hand until his mouth bled. Bob stumbled out of the closet and silently walked up to the sleeping Cletus. Words could not express how excited Bob was to kill Cletus. Right beside Cletus, Bob found a steel crowbar. Perfect! Bob picked up the heavy crowbar slowly, lifted up over his head, and hit Cletus. The crowbar stuck to his head. Cletus stopped breathing. The weight of the crowbar made the dead Cletus fall off the chair in a pool of blood. Bob controlled the house and landed safely in Maple Street. Bob sat down and breathed with relief and looked down at Cletus's bloody dead body. Bob laughed proudly at his brilliant work and rested. Bob walked out of the house. His shoes were making squeaky noises because of the blood on his shoes. Bob breathed the fresh air outside. Bob knew this crazy experience would change him forever. He knew all this had to happen because of this house. One house. One house. It's funny how when funny things happen, everything changes. It changes you. Bob never knew that he would succeed killing Cletus or anyone until he found that funny house on Maple Street. The end.